Hi, babe. Welcome to the Horror Babe Show. I'm your host, Chelsea Beller. It's FilmQuest Filmmaker Friday. Today's episode features two funny femmes, the creators of Svelte Dog Productions, Nicole Murray and Paige Henderson. Nicole, Paige, and I talk mental health in horror, some bitchin' DIY stained glass, neurodivergent creatives, and more. Let's tune in to my conversation with Nicole and Paige. Hi, babe. Welcome to the Horror Babe Show at FilmQuest. I'm here with Nicole and Paige. They are with Svelte Dog Productions, and they made 3 Easy Steps. It's such a fun short. It's like fun, and it has this great like story and message behind it, and it's like just visually entertaining, and I want to know so much. I have a bunch of questions, but I guess my first question is, what inspired you to produce this story?
Paige and I worked together a lot, and we actually co-wrote it as well. And so then coming into it, you know, with our production company, we've really started to specialize even as we write together. So she's more directorial, I'm more producer. And so when we were making the story, it initially came from this idea, like we start with a lot of just like visual concepts at first. And it came from this idea of like the colorful world, this colorful like greenhouse in the middle of the woods. And we were inspired by like an actual greenhouse that Paige found that was like that.
Wow, that's
and
cool.
Then from there kind of came like, what is this colorful world? What is happening in the woods? And then Paige can speak a little more to like kind of the specifics of the ADHD and everything, but we really wanted to focus on mental health.
Yeah.
And we were especially inspired by an article that was how to kill the old you and be reborn, basically.
A real blog post that we saw
Oh
on
my
the
God.
internet that this person should not be writing and giving advice to anybody.
Because it was just very like really down on someone. It was like, you vile piece of human garbage. Like literally some of the stuff we have in the film was like in that, and we're like, okay, so we don't really think that you should talk about mental health that way.
No.
It should be a lot more about learning to incorporate these parts of you that you're struggling with into yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
So like Nicole said, we do this a lot with our writing, where we'll start with like something that's inspired us and kind of have we wanted to focus on mental health. We didn't know exactly in what capacity. And then I feel like when we write, it's just kind of like whatever we're dealing with at the time comes out on the page. It's like film is a way of processing, you know?
Yeah.
So for me specifically, I was coming to terms with the fact that I had ADHD, which I had never thought of as a bad thing in other people, but it also was like a hard thing for me to accept, I guess. I don't know, or just like I just kept putting off accepting it, which is like a very ADHD thing, procrastinating accepting my ADHD. And so like, you know, there's like bits of Nicole has some anxiety that like have come through the script, and then for me, it was a quite intense period of my life. So I say this was like my love letter to get help for ADHD. Because in the film, you know, and a really important thing is that ADHD is not the bad thing at all. Like I think my ADHD can be really overwhelming, but it also is what makes me an artist. It makes me curious, adventurous. Like, you know, there's a lot of parts of myself that I love and that make me. So in the film, the only reason why things go bad when they do go bad is when our main character, Jane, played by Nicole, refuses to accept herself and is just pushing it down and trying to kill her old self instead of accept it and embrace the light and the dark that comes with that.
I was really intrigued by the use of like, it appeared to be like stained glass windows. Can you talk to that?
Yeah. So like Nicole said, that was kind of one of our first like visual images that got us into it. And then it was a bitch to build. Can I swear on this?
Yes.
It was a bitch to build because we had seen this colorful greenhouse, but we didn't know how we couldn't shoot there or anything, you know? So we went through a lot of iterations. We ended up, you remember like when stuff just started opening, like restaurants, not after COVID, during COVID still, and they have the sneeze guards in between tables?
Yes.
So we actually bought two or three giant those sneeze guard things. That was our like,
for like
walls.
50% off.
For like 90%
Oh my
off.
God.
Because there's like nobody needs them anymore, you know?
Right.
And then we used like vinyl, kind of like that wallpaper, you know?
Yeah,
Like stick on
yeah.
wallpaper but see-through, and we like cut out those like shapes and made
Oh
yeah.
my God.
And so it was this whole process, and then I'll let Nicole speak to like kind of what that means, what the colorful one means.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Firstly, that is wildly creative.
It was
I don't know how you guys got that idea, but yeah.
I don't know how we did either. It was probably like a 4 a.m. like, what are we gonna do? Just like online looking for something.
Tell me about the meaning behind it.
Yeah, and like, not to toot my own horn, but I swear I like saw a sneeze guard out and I was like, what about this? But I don't remember anymore. Yeah, the meaning of the colorful world is it's kind of like the embodiment of Jane's internal mind and her ADHD, and there's so much of this beauty to it, right? It is like all these lovely colors, and it's very like fun, but when she denies it, it becomes an entrapment of the manifestation of Jane, which is played by Paige, the Silver Woman. So it's like, it's beautiful and wonderful, but again, if she's not accepting these parts of herself or trying to like work on that and open her mind to her own, you know, things that she kind of needs to work on, it becomes the enclosure that it entraps multiple people.
Yeah. That is that's such a cool way of looking at it, because I was really intrigued by it, and I was like, I'm sure there's some meaning that I'm missing. But it's also just visually, aesthetically beautiful, and like you guys did a really good job.
Thanks.
Did you have like a set designer, or did you do it yourself?
No. we took on a bit much just on ourselves for this one. And I do production design as well on sets,
Cool.
so have that background.
Yeah.
But yeah, our DP, Alessia Savleva, is, I mean, she was incredible to work with. And she was also so great, just like during prep, like we had so many conversations, we had so many like camera tests for some of the like more, so to briefly describe to anybody listening, like the colorful world appears in these mirrors in the woods. Yeah. So Jane is looking at this other version of herself who's in these mirrors, which were green screen into then shooting the colorful world.
Right.
So there was a lot of prep that had to be done for all of like the movement and like that shot where she's circling her, which I really, really wanted and was also a bitch, but we got. So Alessia is just like, you know, every director's dream DP of just like very passionate about the project, and then also just killed it. It looks so good because of her. So yeah.
There's like a dichotomy to it of the rainbows in this like green backdrop of a forest, and I just thought visually it was so beautiful. Who are your filmmaker inspirations?
Ooh. Oh my gosh. In general or for this film?
Let's say for this.
Okay. A huge one for me there's a final chase scene and The Ritual. Have you seen that?
Yes.
I don't think it's like the best horror movie that's ever existed, but some of the concepts, and specifically that like final chase scene where like the internal trauma and guilt and shame is manifesting, and he's running through the woods, also running through that mini mart, is like, I think that scene is so fucking good. And so cool. And so that really inspired this film of just like specifically that chase scene, but also just in general, okay, like how do we physicalize and manifest this struggle that this woman is going through?
Right.
And how does her mind, because that's kind of what, you know, ADHD is a bit too, and mental health in general, like your mind almost becoming its own thing and getting in, if you don't accept it, like, or, you know, if you're not working on it, getting in the way of the rest of the world. So that was a big one for this film.
Another one we talked about even at the writing stage, but then was kind of brought up again when someone was like, oh my gosh, the daylight aspect of it all reminded us of Midsommar. And it was like, yeah, we did have that conversation where we were like, is it going to take place at night or not? And it just really didn't seem to fit the vibe and the genre change, you know?
Right.
And things can be scary in the day.
Totally.
It turns out. So,
yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, we didn't think it was like a hindrance at all. In fact, it was like a very fun, you know, inspiration from Midsommar for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To shout out Alessia again, one thing on that, when we were talking, you know, we were like, okay, so we want it to be during the day, but also like the feeling, it is a genre bending, the feeling has changed, and especially towards the end when that like final big change happens. So actually like in that shot, when it's matching the push in and the pull out of the magical stuff kind of happening, Alessia came with the idea of like the color grade completely changed. So while it was during the day, it's a lot less saturated. It's a lot more of those like cooler tones. And we actually had like a flat, like I don't actually know how she did it, but like in that shot where it's pulling out, we like had the sun go away and it like literally becomes darker and more gritty, like in that moment as we're watching it.
Yeah.
So,
I'm like going back to it in my head. I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah, it's subtle. It's subtle, but it like, if you were to take like 2 screen grabs from like when she's first talking to the mirrors towards the end with the mirrors, like the color is completely different. And I also think our colorist, Mars Williamson, did a great job with making it that subtle change, so it wasn't like, what the fuck, this looks like a completely different film suddenly, weirdly, you know? So yeah, it's nice because I feel like most people don't like pick up on it, but like obviously subconsciously, and that's so much of filmmaking, you know?
Totally. When you mentioned that the running scene is based on the ritual, that like something in my brain, because it reminded me of something, but I couldn't think of what it was. And then when you said the running scene in the ritual, I was like, oh, yeah. Like, I totally see that.
Yeah.
And, like, you did such a good job of, like, not recreating it, but creating your own version of it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. What message or feeling do you hope audiences walk away with?
I mean, something that I think probably any filmmaker wants, but also something we've seen a lot on the festival circuit, which has been really wonderful, is like people feeling seen and feeling like they can relate to the film, whether or not they have ADHD. Though we have had a lot of people come up and be like, I have ADHD. That was like totally, that first scene, oh my gosh, that's like my experience. And then also, you know, people who don't have ADHD come up and they're like, oh my gosh, I totally see, like, that's like the shadow self, and you need to like learn to, so like a lot of people take their own kind of mental health journey from it, and that was definitely something we were hoping people would get, and so that was really nice to like have been seeing that throughout the festival circuit. Yeah.
Oh, that's so wonderful. I love that.
Really
I just really love when mental health is involved in horror, because it obviously needs to be talked about more, and horror is like, I think, the perfect genre for that.
I mean, it's such the space for it. It's, you know, you're like all in your emotions. And
exactly.
I think for me, one thing I already touched on is that like the ADHD is not the bad thing, you know? But also I don't know, something we've kind of like talked about is like, this is kind of a film about what happens when the world tells you you're wrong, because really like that's what's happening, right? Is like she's existing in a world that was not built for a neurodivergent mind, which is why all of these things are coming up. So I hope people just like feel seen and understood, and maybe again, like, it worked for me. I got into therapy. I'm doing you know, it's obviously therapy. It's obviously a journey and everything, but I hope also this film feels not preachy at all, because like it wasn't meant as a preachy thing, because I was literally writing it, figuring out I had ADHD during pre-production. I was actually like in a really, really bad place with my ADHD, so it was like this film is just like so wrapped up in all of that. We're not saying it's easy, like, okay, just accept it and it'll be good, but you know, like,
if only it were that easy.
Only it were that easy. But just kind of like love yourself, and all parts of you are beautiful and important to who you are.
I didn't write this down, but I remembered I wanted to talk about sound. Specifically in the beginning of this, there was a moment that I was like, what? my brain is like, wait, what is happening? And then I like had to start it over and like really focus on what's going on. And I was like, oh, I see. We're experiencing sound from her perspective.
That's the point.
And that was so eye-opening.
Oh, yeah.
Because as far as I know, I don't think I have ADHD, but I know people who do, and like I haven't been able to really put myself in their position, and this just really like, oh, this is how you experience the world, and that is detrimental. Like I can't imagine experiencing it that way, and like just that alone, just sound, really put that in perspective. Can you guys speak to that, or like what was the thought process behind that?
I mean, so much of the film kind of, yes, thank you for saying that, because like the film is about putting the audience kind of into Jane's mind a bit. So a lot of the kind of like technical and artistic choices were made through the lens of a neurodivergent brain. Like the sound design that you're talking about is like a cafe scene where she's talking to her girlfriend and she just wants to pay attention, but this like the sound slowly is getting higher, the aspect ratio is slowly like sinking in, and it was really important to me to like, I'd seen some stuff, you know, with people getting distracted or whatever, where they're like talking and then they look over and it's like an extreme close-up shot, but like my experience of getting distracted with ADHD is like slowly starting to focus on that plan, and I don't even notice I'm doing it. It's not like a, you know. So there was that, and then in addition to the sound, like even the genre bending itself was like mimics like the emotional dysregulation that's a very, and like super intense symptom of ADHD for me. There's a lot of like a lot of other sensory things,
like textile,
like the textile kind of things. Like so much of it was to have us be Jane and to like help people understand maybe a little bit of what it's like. So the little bit that I can recognize in myself is like when I'm having like a major anxiety moment, and like you're just not able to figure out like, wait, what is my next step here? And it's literally like, just get up and go to the bathroom or something. Totally. And you're like, everything like, and your brain just goes, wait, what is happening? What do I do next? Oh, one foot in front of the other, right? Okay. We got there. Did you want to say?
Yeah. And even just because I thought what you said was really lovely and vulnerable as like a non-neurodivergent person, and I also am not neurodivergent, and so like I also had that eye-opening experience going through being Jane, and you know, Paige and I worked super closely on that. I also like interviewed a bunch of different like folks with ADHD, and I mean, it's also different for everybody, but it's like, it's been so cool to understand like just the different, like my eyes have been open, like you said, the different perspective, and just like having an idea that like things don't have to just be done in the like normal way, because that's not great for everybody. And so I almost feel like my mind's been open to ways to like be more welcoming and open for just like different things outside the norm, where we don't have to like have this structure need to be the same, and all this, you know, we can be open to all of everyone's minds. And then also just want to give a shout out too, because you were talking about the different sensory components and sound and all this, and we actually brought on a few different ADHD creatives who brought their own lived experiences to that. So one being our editor, Lauren Skelton, and then the other being our composer, Gino Hyojanan, and they both brought such a wonderful, their own like beautiful takes on it. We're obsessed with the score.
Oh my god,
And I'm sure Paige will speak to this more, or you know, but just like the fact that Gina brought a lot of her own, like she created an ADHD motif in the music, in the score that comes up again and again. And so just like those contributions are so wonderful, and it's so important to have people whose experiences we're talking about be in the film and be part of the process.
I'm so impressed that you interviewed people. Like, that takes such a deeper level of like getting into the character's head, and like that's really respectable, like that you like took that extra step. Thanks. I love that. Yeah.
Yes. It was very awesome.
Yeah, of course it would be. Like, because yeah, everybody works differently, and what is normal anyway, and like
exactly.
Yeah, like I don't really think there is a normal. I mean, I'm not a brain surgeon, but I just feel like everyone is on some kind of spectrum of something, you know?
Yeah.
So it's just really nice to see Jane, right?
Yeah.
Jane's version of it. Did you want to say something else?
Yeah, having like Lauren and Gina especially, and as well as just other people's, you know, like again, Nicole's like obviously people experience mental health and everything, but specifically having them too, especially in the post process, like was such a gift as a director to, you know, get out of my own head a little bit, because obviously it's like my person, you know, you say it from the personal, but also it's more than just me.
Right.
So yeah, like specifically that, you know, I remember having a long conversation with Gina where, you know, we talked about the score and I had ideas and stuff, and then we were like, okay, what does it mean that it's an ADHD score? And for Gina, she was like, okay, it's like, because she's so musical, she was like, I kind of get this feeling of a recurring motif sometimes, for like, that's what it feels like to me. And so that made its way into the film, which was really, really special.
Yeah. I want to talk about the score too, because that was beautiful.
Yeah, we're in love with the score. Shout out Gina, guys, we love you, Gina. Yeah, it was, you know, very like, I wanted something kind of like Yellow Jacketsy, that like primal, like feminine rage feeling type thing, and
that's what you get.
Yeah, thank you. There's like a lot of breath in there as well. But then I guess I'll let you speak on because I just spoke on like Molly and Madison.
I do love to speak about Molly and Madison, our two friends who are like, Molly's a classically trained opera singer, and then Madison is a classically trained singer, and they're just both so good. We literally brought them in with Gina and did like a session where they just like sang their like feminine energy out. It was awesome. Really and that's like those vocals that you hear, those kind of like you said, kind of like primal vocals.
It was such a fun session. We were there for maybe like 3 hours, just like doing different, you know, things, and like I got to direct them just in ways you wouldn't expect to direct somebody for a score, singing for a score, maybe, where I was like, okay, Madison, you just got to your car, you don't have your keys, you have all these things, you're having an anxiety, you're having an anxiety attack, and that's the like, oh, like that you would hear that she's doing. So it was really like, it was honestly a very cathartic day for all of us, I think, because I was just like, just fucking get it out. Like, get out whatever you're dealing with right now. And like them being so also musical and like using their voices so much as like their art and tool, you know, like they just so good. Like killed it. And I think, it was a really special few hours.
Yeah. That's amazing. I love that you like directed them in a way.
Yeah.
Like, and that really, it helps set the tone for sure. Is there a feature in production yet, or is that what we're working towards? I'm assuming it is.
So this story, we kind of decided that, you know, this is its own story where it's at.
Unless somebody really wants to give us money.
Look, someone loves it and wants to make it a feature, great.
Yeah.
But so what we've actually started looking towards is we are co-producing a feature in May. That's shooting in Montreal. So we're starting to get those, you know, those feature legs under our belt. And then we are also in development on another feature. And do you want to share the concept a little bit? Yeah.
It's you know, we as a production company, we're really focused on like telling underrepresented stories, and really like raw, visceral human stories, but through the lens of like kind of like genre adjacent. So with, you know, using elements of horror or magical realism or what have you to be our bridge into this like really visceral human experience. And so continuing on that, our feature in development is kind of like sci-fi-esque, but it's a really intimate portrait of a rancher in the not so distant future who's farms women. and that's like part of society.
Yeah.
And what happens when something goes wrong and the women start to find community.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds kooky and spooky. I like it a lot.
Yeah, we're really, really excited about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this your first FilmQuest? Or have you guys done this a number of times?
We were here 2 years ago with the short film Paracosm, which our good friend and collaborator Adam Van Dyke directed, and then we produced it and acted in as well. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah.
Okay.
It's a fun 70s groovy vibey horror film. It's like 5 minutes of just pure vibes and some violence. It's really good.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's fun.
So I'm assuming you guys will take these next in developments and things back to FilmQuest.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm really looking forward to seeing those. Like, you guys do some really good shit.
Thank you. We appreciate that from a badass like you. We appreciate it.
Do you guys have any last things you want to add, or tags, or anything else?
I'll give some social tags.
Do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, to stay in touch with more of our work and just see the journey as we do this, you can follow us at Svelte Dog Prod on Instagram. We also are SvelteDogProductions.com.
One last thing. Where did Svelte Dog come from?
That's
I had a really fat dog when I was little, she was part Chihuahua. She had a huge body and a tiny head, and we called her Salsa the Fat Dog. And Fat Dog Productions was taken, and one time for like a year she lost her weight, so she was like kind of svelte. So we called her Salsa the Svelte Dog for a year, so that's where Svelte Dog Productions came from, and our logo is just that, like, a picture of her with a giant body and a tiny head.
I assumed it was something like that. So that just, that makes me happy.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for
Thank
doing
you.
this.
This was so fun.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
been so wonderful, and I hope we stay in touch.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, thanks, Chelsea.
Bye, babe. Well, that's it from me and Svelte Dog. Today's episode marks the last of the in-person, in Provo FilmQuest interviews, but I have more FilmQuest virtual interviews to come. Hope you enjoyed this week's FilmQuest Filmmaker Friday. Tune in every Friday for a new filmmaker interview. Please don't forget to like, comment, follow, and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram and Letterboxd to see what I'm watching and what I'm rating. You can also follow Svelte Dog Productions and Nicole and Paige personally at their social media handles below. Bye, babe.